This is another archival upload of my previous mix critique videos. Again, I apologize for the vertical format that this video is about to switch to. This is 141 through 145. This was sent in by Patrick. Okay, I was really on board with the synth bass sound, and then the snare came in, and I just already not liking the snare sound. The kick drum's a little muddy. You gotta find a little bit of the low mids to cut out, and it could probably use a little bit more sub information. The snare sound, I really don't like the snare sound. It's not meaty enough for what the track needs. It just sounds really thin compared to everything else. The vocals sound pretty good though. It sounds like there's probably a guitar going on there under the bass, but the guitar is honestly pretty inaudible. I would definitely bring that guitar up a little and find a good spot for it to sit in the mix. Okay, honestly, that was pretty solid. Just a few things really I would change. I want to feel more of the low end of the bass and the kick drum. I feel like the low end just is not hitting the way that it needs to. And honestly, other than that, not a fan of the snare sound. I would definitely swap that out for a bit of a thicker snare. And the guitar in the background needs to come up a lot and find a good spot to sit in the mix. But honestly, that's pretty much it. The vocals sound good. Like, the mix overall sounds pretty solid other than a little bit of a lack of low end. But yeah, man, not bad. This was sent in by Jonathan.
How do I fix it?
All right, it doesn't sound too bad, but you're definitely missing a good amount of low end in a lot of things. The kick drum, the bass, and the guitars could all use a lot more low end here.
I could eat better, not just whenever.
Most things are balanced pretty well in terms of relative levels to everything else. I'm really having trouble hearing the kick drum. It needs to cut through more on the high end, and it needs a lot more low end. But so far, the biggest thing is just you're missing a good amount of low end in a lot of this track overall. You're definitely pushing the guitars a little too much in the 2K range. Probably the vocals too. You're getting a lot of buildup in the like 1.5 to 2.5K range, and it's starting to get a little harsh as a result. All right, man, honestly, this isn't that bad. Most people would probably listen to this and not really hear any problems. Honestly, if you just went into the EQ on your mix bus and you boosted 100 hertz, 50 hertz, and then you cut around 2.5K, just those couple of moves would probably make this track a lot better. But honestly, overall, this is a pretty solid mix. This was sent in by Corbin. I'm really liking the atmosphere in the intro, but it's going on a little too long for my personal taste. Like, at least you are building on the intro. It's not the exact same thing over and over. Like, those couple of low notes on the piano there, those really need to come through a little bit more. Like, just boosting the bass more on the piano so that low note really hits would be awesome. Honestly, overall, everything is kind of lacking low end, like, and also it's probably mostly due to the lacking low end, but the upper mids are cutting through a little bit too much. You got a little too much in the 1K area. All right, when the drums kick in there, the drum mix is not good. I can honestly barely hear the drums at all. The snare's not cutting through, the kick's not cutting through. All we're really getting is like the high end out of the cymbals. And the cymbals are really, really washy. Like, again, part of this is just the overall frequency curve of the whole track. Like, you have too much high end, not nearly enough low end, but also just the balance of the individual parts of the drums is not great. I mean, it's kind of an interesting soundscapey thing. Like I said, the drum balance needs to be a lot better. I need to actually hear the different parts of the drums and not just the cymbals. Other than that, just the overall frequency curve of everything below 200 needs to come up, and everything above 1K needs to come down. This track was sent in by Simon. All right, this is really great so far. I'm really enjoying it as a track. The biggest things I'm noticing is the drums seem to be a bit of an issue. You got too much high end from everything in the drums. So you could probably just put a high shelf and like bring everything down above like 2K on the drum bus. And also the drums aren't really gelling into the mix the way they need to. They're kind of poking through a little too much. So you need to find a way to make the drums sit a little bit better in the overall mix. So probably just some mix bus compression could take care of that for you. Also definitely need more low end in both the kick and the bass. Alright, so that was a really cool song. Like, I was enjoying the entire thing. It's arranged well. Your mix is really solid in the mid-range, which is good. That's the most important part of the mix to get right. Where you need to improve is, like I said, your drums need to sit a little bit better in the mix overall. You definitely have a little too much high end in everything, but especially in the drums, so bring that down a bit. And we definitely need more low end in the kick and the bass here. But honestly, that's really, really close to being an amazing mix. This was set in by Josh.
Talking with you gives me ecstasy. Time flies by like it's only a dream.
Okay, I like the vibe of the intro, but the male vocal is way too far in the front for this. Like, that definitely needs to be backed down a lot. At least for the intro, it needs to be a lot closer to where the female vocal is.
Great, I'm used to forward.
Alright, you definitely cut too much out of the low mids in quite a few things. The guitar, the bass, the kick drum sounds really boxy, and we definitely need a little bit more low end out of the kick drum. Honestly, the drums in general kind of just sound like cardboard right now, which is not great.
Doesn't feel like waiting when it's waiting for you.
So not just in the intro, kind of all the parts where that female vocal comes in. The male vocal and the female vocal need to be a lot closer in volume so they gel better, so it sounds more like a group of people singing together and not like the male vocal singing and like some people kind of singing in the background. Those should really be closer to the same level. Pretty much in the whole mix, you cut way too much out of the low mids. We're losing all that low end energy because of it. And the drums, like I said, sound like cardboard. You got to adjust the compression settings. It sounds like the attack is too fast on all the drum compressors, and just overall you got to EQ your drums a lot better.